Hello YouTube, Infinite Magicraid community, Gandalf here. We have a brand new hero, Dekora, that has just joined. And every Wednesday, you can count on my hero reviews as you make your decision for new heroes that are coming into the game. With that being said, he has a very niche purpose, and I'll explain it very shortly how he works. And I do feel like he's designed to have specific counters as a countermeasure to certain heroes. But in the grand scheme of things, I think he can fit into the 5s meta. Will he sneak his way into 3s? I am not quite sure at this point in time. I don't think it's likely that he will sneak in, because while he could be very helpful for anti-jingle bell or anti-lance, whatever they bring in terms of high pursuit damage up front, it is still one of those niche counterplays. And I feel like unless we do RTA, like real-time arena, like where you draft pick your teams, like his value just isn't there. Like he's meant to focus and target on specific teams, as opposed to being general overall value. So we'll showcase all of that as we go into the video. But before we start, want to just give a shout out for the devs, because they are doing a survey. The new faction is coming out, very exciting. There's some an easy 500 gem for you there. Just do the survey and you'll get to see some of the new character design, and you get a sneak preview at some of the what they look like. So give them some feedback and claim your 500 gems that way. All right, so let's go into his kit. Again, as usual, they're very good at writing essays. At least a basic attack is easy to understand. It just consumes gunfire to attack it. But I'm curious to know, if he doesn't have gunfire stacks on him, will he even be able to use his basic attack, which is a strange one. The second one is also relatively straightforward, where he will be able to auto cast on the enemy with the lowest HP, but the multiplier isn't that like at most 6. Okay, so with the multiplier you're 420, so 840 is the maximum. It's sort of like trying to do a slay type damage, but again, it's not very high damaging multiplier. Now Dekora consume 1 gunfire if their HP is not lower than. Here it just means at the beginning of any turn at E1, it just becomes auto pursuit, right? And when gunfire is stacked to a certain level, he's gonna have more piercing. Now whenever he uses his third skill, he's going to be able to easily get 15 stacks if it's in a PvP situation. But in PvE, it makes it really hard for him to get all these stacks, which makes it really hard to use. So it's really a PvP hero. He doesn't really have PvE use, right? So if you're focusing on PvE right now, just straightly you're ruling this hero out. Now let's go into kind of other parts of his kit. Yes, he can ignore damage immunity at 30 layers. So he has ability to break through shields, has ability to go through damage immunity. So Nordak is not going to save you from it, but it takes a while to get to those 30 layers. Now at exclusive 2, he starts with 5 layers. And he gets the imprison onto the enemy with the highest attack for 1 turn. And this cannot be cleansed. So this is very important, the fact that it cannot be cleansed. So as long as you have a faster speed than the enemy, and the enemy can't... so for example, here the enemy Jingle Bell, right? Jingle Bell at exclusive 3 actually can be immune to imprison. But because Dekora is actually faster than Jingle Bell, his unique passive hero actually apply first. This is true for all heroes with unique passive that have like ability on beginning of turns. Whichever has the higher speed will get their passive applied. The next piece about his kit is that he actually gives 5% turn meter to the entire allies. So this is sort of like almost a better version of Ronai, because Ronai is able to give that 5% turn meter to everybody, right? But Ronai also gives everybody a heal, which then makes that team weak to adkins. But you don't have that problem with Dekora, is you can get 5% turn meter for the entire team. But when other allies deal damage to an enemy and the enemy loss is 5%, less than 5%, they will gain 1 layer of gunfire. So each enemy can trigger this effect more than 5 times. So this gets really interesting because, first of all, you already got that 5%, right? We'll show this on a separate team, but if you're fighting a team that has a lot of shield, you actually get a lot of turn meter gained that way. So it's really helpful in terms of that particular setup. Like if you're doing a popper setup, and bringing Dekora is a really good option. Like a lot of the time, what we're really afraid of is, Jingle Bell dropping snowballs at everybody and your entire team just dies combined with the erato proc, right? Now you don't have that big of a problem. It's really the erato proc you need to worry for, and erato just end up killing everyone. So, hold on, let me just quickly try again here. Right, let's just quickly look at the stats again. I think I mirrored everyone's stats, right? So this is the base stats for my heroes, and they are on the enemy team as well. So yeah, the Jingle Bell is gonna drop a lot of big snowballs all over the place a little bit. But let's try that again and kind of show how his E3 works. I'm gonna change the lineup to the tanky version, right? And you can see the highest attack will still get imprisoned. That means they can't get any turn meter right away. So that Lydia, even though Lydia is going to go, right? But if it was any other hero, you can't boost it because it's imprisoned and you can't cleanse that. So things like Jack and Roll, any sort of speed cleave, this is a solid counter for. But let's just watch slowly. So when I do 3 stages of attack, I believe I'm going to get... Let's see how many. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you can only get each once, but you can see I got 5 stacks right there. So I've immediately kind of just gotten extra turn meter right there. Now Popper goes. Now let's see if Popper actually triggers. Now the shield has been broken, right? So that's why we're not getting any extra turn meter. But if there wasn't any, when we attack the enemy and there wasn't any, hold on, let's see. Hold on, what happened? I thought my popper would have been faster than, did I not sync the data? Oh, my popper wasn't on the right gear. Okay, anyways. Yeah, let's restart that again. I just want to see what happens when Popper does his thing. Oh my. If you imprison that Lydia actually doesn't get a turn. Isn't that kind of crazy? Imprison target. Lydia was supposed to go first immediately, right? But because Lydia is imprisoned, Lydia's not going to get a turn. Right? And you can see that because Muron has all these shields, I'm getting additional turn meter out of these bombs. While the damage isn't really there, right? Okay. Hold on. Is my... How am I cleaving this? Is it because... Oh, this prevents Lydia from going, right? So that means the enemy team only has Muron's passive there, right? So immediately Lydia's not going to go, right? So that isn't happening. The echo from Muron isn't being applied. Let me just change the enemy lineup just a little bit, just to make it slightly tankier. Let's see if we can... Let's see if we throw in a Nordak here. Oh. Here, let's just throw in Santa as well. Let's just sync all their data. So again, Lydia, you can see, will be imprisoned, right? So with Lydia being imprisoned, they have massive shields now, right, from Nordak. We're not going to break any of these shields. So we're going to get a lot of turn meter from that. So we got another 5 turn meter for everybody. Popper just won again, and he just got to 15. The moment he got to 15, he gets 1 auto attack. Right? So now let's check out his nuking capability, okay? Jingle Bell obviously is going to, you know, mop the floor with everyone. But let's just give this guy the same kind of stats as my Jingle Bell here. So Jingle Bell has skill damage 64. I wonder if stats getting retained because of Lydia. I don't know. That seems like a lot of skill damage. And direct damage dealt boosted. But let's just give this guy similar kind of stats. It's a little bit extreme, but I just want to see the numbers. $400 crit. Let's just say we can even build this on like a skill damage set. Something like that. Okay, this is already kind of, you know, absurd amount of damage, but let's see what can Dekora do with stats like that. The feeling is it's not going to do much, to be honest. I feel like the value he brings to the table is utility. You actually want him on higher speeds. That's probably the more valuable thing to do here. Okay, let's just check the numbers, and I really think it's going to be super low. Okay. See, like he doesn't have very impressive multipliers at all, right? Like if we did this on Jingle Bell with that kind of stats, right? And just to put things in perspective, our Jingle Bell is at, okay, 96 skill damage. This guy here, let's just go give this guy 100% skill damage, just so that. Here, let's give him even more. Okay, 150. Okay, like 3 times the skill damage. Just saying, like the damage is not going to be there for this guy because his multipliers are just simply not there. He's more for utility, for control. So as you're building him, if you do plan to get him, it's not for doing damage. It's for you getting additional turn meter. Like immediately I got 15% turn meter just because, you know, Popper and Lydia went. This allows me to outspeed any of my opponent without worrying to deal with Atkins. And here, let's just, you know, this is already absurd amount of piercing and, you know, all the buffs you can give it to the super tanky team, and like he's not killing anybody. Okay, so as you're trying to build him, like he's not the damage dealer, but what he will be able to do is enable your team so that you don't actually get wrecked by the likes of, you know, Jingle Bell or Lydia, whatever the setup might be, because that, or, you know, it's going to be able to stop their Lance, right? Lance is, it's going to, literally, Lance just came out and they brought out a counter for Lance because clearly Lance was doing too much pursuit. This is going to stop Lance. We'll just showcase that very shortly. Like it's going to stop Lance. It's going to stop Moricus. It's going to stop a lot of people, but like, okay, I almost want to just look at what the heck happened there damage wise. Okay, that damage was 169. did adding Nordak make that big a difference? Like, I was a little bit surprised at how with Nordak versus without Nordak the damage was that different. And again, this is absurd amount of damage, right? So let's just check. Okay, so it was higher. Okay, that's strange. So does he? Okay. We need to put things into perspective a little bit. Oh, I know why the damage is getting smaller and smaller, because the enemy with Muro, every time we reset, like yeah, that's why. I was like, because every time we reset and use that stupid button, it's adding the like their tenacity is at 500 already, and their damage taken is some ridiculous number because Muro has way too many turns. Let's make sure he take this out and put Nordak in. Right, but either way, like this is, I think the damage are still normal, or maybe they already got double the buff already. I have a feeling they got double the buff already. Yeah, but this is still going through. This is going through. Okay, so I think, you know, moral of the story, multiplier wise, I mean, if we look at his multipliers, right? This is 3 stages of, it's 510, right? You look at Jingle Bell, it's 40% attack. Okay, so each stage does 4, 2 stages of 4 times. So that's 80, 52, 52. The multiplier is about the same, but the... Okay. Can he really nuke? I know he's got very high multipliers right now, but yes, this is let's just quickly just check attributes here, right? Like this is with him on higher attack than, well, similar attack to Jingle Bell, about the same crit damage, but when it comes to skill damage, he's like much higher, so that kind of is washed out. The damage taken from the enemy looks normal here. Direct damage taken minus 15. Tenacity is really high. Skill damage taken is minus 80, so that's like, that all kind of happened already. Okay, try again. Like as we look at this, right? He's not killing with better stats than Jingle Bell, basically. He's not killing. He's gonna kill and proc 1. Like Lydia like Lance or Jingle Bell usually will have the highest attack on the team. Like this from a meta, from like a counterplay player perspective, it's much greater there, right? Jingle Bell has a lot more damage immunity. So anyways, hopefully that kind of explained, you know, the core part of his kit. If we do a TLDR on this guy, right, Dekora, 2 things, right? One is his mechanic on getting turn meter, right? You can forget about him doing damage, just because you need speed on him. You want to make sure that you are actually effectively triggering his passive to imprison a target at E2. So you're gonna need to build enough speed on him and then crit damage, whatever. Like, it's just nice to do a little bit extra damage, and he has the ability to put weakness 2 on the enemy. So I mean, here's one more test I think we can run. Just to, you know, here, I'm gonna, all right, we're gonna apply both teams here. I'm gonna battle it out, lineup. I am going to say, let's say we don't bring Lydia. And we bring Dekora instead. And let's just watch this play out a little bit. Like, in my mind, right? Like, yes, they're not going to get the benefit, but like, yes, you're going to get some extra turn meter. Like, it's not going to stop the enemy erato. I don't know if that got caught in the video, but you can clearly see, you know, people I missed it. Can't wait until I, you know, cover this. Like, Lydia still ends up going, right? So I think, you know, from a usability perspective, like, we already see the use of weakness, right? Weakness being applied and used when it comes to I guess Xiaoying has that ability, right? Like, we don't see a meta that has that much shield anymore. With Muron coming into the game and Salter really making it difficult to work on shields, like, that's already several heroes to be kind of a counterplay to shields. Like, you can see this is definitely, yeah. Oh. I mean, if we look at the data report part way, right? Like, he's not the one that's dishing out that much damage. Well, some damage, right? These pursuits. I mean, at this point, yes, he's able to do damage to ignore damage immunity, which is good, I guess. He gets some extra piercing, I think, as well, right? Does he get extra piercing? Yeah, 40% more piercing at 15 layers, 30 layers more damage immunity. So, I don't know, right? Could he work on a team like this? He gets you a little bit extra turn meter. He weakens their shields. I feel like it you know, it's an alternative play to Xiaoying. The Xiaoying does a little bit more. I feel like Xiaoying does more damage, right? Like, here, let's try again. Let's give enemy Xiaoying in this slot. Line up enemy here. And again, this is where I get scared, right? Because the problem I have with a lot of this is that we don't get to show the effective auras, and you don't have the 40% buff there. So I'm gonna just sync data for at least all my heroes over here. We'll go back and make sure that he's on a more reasonable speed. Okay, well, his stats is completely out of whack. Let's put him to something a little bit more reasonable, not like that. Let's give him something like 2500 speed, 100 crit, 300 crit damage. You can probably afford something like that. Here, let's give him some extra skill damage too. There. Okay. So by, I mean, the counterplay value, I definitely see it, right? Imprison is very powerful. It prevents all the first turn shenanigan stuff from, well, their top DPS, right? If you can get that imprison onto Lance, Jingle Bell, all of that, it's really helpful. But once the battle starts, that imprison kind of just goes away a little bit. Like, I feel like comparing that against, you know, Shackle from Donald. This in theory could be more annoying. See what Showering is doing? Like, Showering is much stronger in terms of quickly ramping up and single targetly killing stuff. Just look at that. Like, it's crazy, right? So that's why I feel like in this lineup, Showering is still better than him. Dekora isn't really meant for these tanky team setups. I feel like he's still used in your cleave teams and makes your cleave teams kind of faster than the enemy's cleave team, and also make yourself safe. I feel like what he could bring to the table is that he could, in theory, make put some of that shield breaking onto the enemy teams before your nuker goes, right? Like again, very niche. He's there. He's a counterplay, right? He could counter a lot of stuff, but is him being a counter enough? And in the long term, like, if he is meant to just counter certain heroes, when those certain heroes go away, I guess it makes him obsolete, right? Like, for example, Donald here. Donald has gotten to a point that it's kind of obsolete now, right? And I feel really bad because he's broken through. I can't wait until, and I can't get these exclusives off to make other Elemental City heroes, which is really, really painful. With this new hero, I feel like it just makes Donald even more obsolete because he's a better version of Donald in my mind. Well, maybe not. I mean, Donald does have an extra life, so yeah. I mean, they're definitely meant to counter the highest attacking hero, preventing them from doing stuff, and Shackle prevents them from casting spells. But Jingle Bell, Lance, all of those pursuit attacks don't happen, and Imprison stops all of that. I feel like I'm just repeating myself at this point. I'm gonna wrap it up with some summons because on this other account, if I can get Lance, I did try to get Lance, by the way. I feel like we're gonna see Salter tomorrow. Out of all these heroes, I still feel like Lance is a better pick out of these three because PvE still is more important than PvP for majority of the player base. Okay, for the Krakens out there where we're actually trying to duke it out with each other for that top spot in PvP, or helping the guild secure that first spot in GVG. Other than that, I mean, PvE is a lot more important than PvP nowadays. And let's see if I get him. If I get him, that'd be really lucky. If not, we'll end the video here, and you guys can look forward to me having a Lance on my 108 account. I didn't get Lance on my server 71 account, unfortunately, but there you go. I think this is a good way to end the video. My commitment to say that out of these three heroes, my personal choice is still Lance. I feel like Lance is the stronger out of all three, the more versatile in the grand scheme of things. Yes, Dekora is going to help make, I guess, your nuking team a little bit stronger. Lance, has a lot of PvE use as well. So overall hero value, I will pick Lance. And then maybe Salter, because Salter is kind of key to PvE as well. And then I will pick Dekora. I just feel like Dekora Dekora is a better version. I mean, I think it's a toss-up between Dekora and Salter. Salter, it had a lot of controversy around it, and there's mixed feeling around it. Like, I might personally pick Dekora over Salter, but it's just simply because Salter has use in Purgatory of Seven Sins with the severe wound, as well as for the burn team. So yeah, so Lance, Salter, and then Dekora. So hopefully this is helpful for your decision this week, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Gandalf out.